Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for coming to the High Energy Entrepreneur Radio Show on the iNetpreneur Network. I'm Donna Guinwa, and I am your host, and I am super excited that you joined us here today. Today's show is all about real estate. Market crash or market dash? Is it a bad time to buy real estate? We're going to find out because I have three incredible experts ready to talk about each of them in their own separate niche. So it's going to be very exciting. But first things first, let's get a little housekeeping out of the way, shall we? I need you to subscribe to the channel, number one. Number two, bookmark all your networking activities at ntevents.net. And three, like us on our Facebook page. The iNetpreneur Network is where business owners, entrepreneurs, influencers, and experts come together to talk about their challenges and their triumphs, their impact and their tragedy. So let's get behind their stories and learn from their perspiration and their inspiration. Today, my first guest is Stuart Gethner. Welcome, Stuart.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm super excited that, you took time out of your busy schedule to join us today. So before we get started in the interview, Stuart, I got to be honest. I like to brag about all my guests. So you're going to have to give me just a minute here to brag about you. So, of course, I know Stuart through a network together, but he is the president of Phelps Capital and Consulting. And he is not only a real estate investor, but he also teaches real estate courses and has taught to over 5,000 students. 5,000. And Stuart and his wife have 3 children, 4 dogs, and a whole bunch of horses, and live in Scottsdale, Arizona. Welcome.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. Popular show. I'm honored to be here.
Well, we are honored to have you here. So, one of your superpowers is understanding how to buy low and sell big. I mean, that's what you do, right? You invest, and you wouldn't be successful if you didn't understand that market.
I think in any business, in my previous life, I'm a pharmacist. I used to own pharmacies here in town. In any business, whether it's pharmacy, real estate, regardless what it is, you make your money when you buy. So being able to buy right is the key in any business. So yes, we look for off-market opportunities that are priced right.
And so by off-market opportunities, Stuart, are you talking about maybe a little bit of a fixer-upper?
Usually we like to buy things where we can add value add. But when we speak about off-market opportunities, we talk about stuff that's not listed with a realtor or an agent or on Craigslist, where it's going to be a private discussion, a private opportunity. So it's not cherry picked over. By the time it hits the MLS or the market, if you will, through a realtor, you have thousands of people looking at it. So we like to consummate deals off market, just between buyer and seller themselves.
Got you. So sale by a homeowner.
Sure, or by company, corporation, where we're talking multifamily, apartments and such, commercial property. That's correct.
Right. Nice. So now, Stuart, you are not originally from Arizona.
I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. And that's a nice place to be from.
I love it. But you've been here for over 25 years now.
I have. I went to pharmacy school in St. Louis. If St. Louis would have weather like Phoenix had, I probably would have stayed there, but they don't. They still have winter. So I went ahead and right. So I decided to come out here where it's tough to shovel sunshine.
Absolutely. I grew up here and I moved away for 25 years and moved back 4 years ago in July from Ohio was my last landing spot where I raised my children. And stayed there over 15 years, and 45 below is just too cold.
Yeah, 45 is just too cold for me.
Right. The first year I moved back, I'm like, this is nothing. after that, man, my blood thinned, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like 50 degrees. I'm cold.
You're right.
I love it. So tell us how you went from pharmaceutical to real estate.
So for me, one of my challenges in owning pharmacies was dealing with insurance companies and drug companies, and it was a challenge. I got plenty of stories that I could share about medicines not being covered for people who needed and expensive medicines and such. And like I mentioned, we had three pharmacies. Two were retail; they're still there today. One's at Tatum and Dynamite. The other's at Central and Camelback. And then we had a what we call a nursing home pharmacy where there's no walk-in traffic, located off Cave Creek in the 101. We service assisted living facilities. We assisted skilled nursing facilities, hospice patients, oncology. And one day, one of the hospice nurses was talking to me, and she said, "Do you know what the number one regrets of my patients are?" And I said, "Yeah, probably they spent too much time at the office and not enough time with their family." And she said, "You'd think that, but you're wrong." And I said, "Really? What is it?" She said, "They live their life for someone else." And my dad was a pharmacist. My grandpa, my Uncle Max were pharmacists. I couldn't make it in Major League Baseball, so I went into pharmacy. But I've always liked the idea, ever since I was little, watching those infomercials on television about investing in real estate, having passive income. So we had the chance to sell the pharmacies in 2012. I opened up my real estate investment firm and been doing this ever since.
That is amazing. So, this is one thing I talk with Robert often about is that some people are literally born into entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
right? And then there's some of us who bounce back and forth, right? And you went into the corporate world and did the thing. Yeah, you were an entrepreneur within the corporate world, but realized you were still working for somebody else that wasn't benefiting you and your family. Am I correct?
Yeah, not only that, I like to put it this way. I'm just a bad employee. So I like to do things my way. And I think every entrepreneur would say the same thing. If you let me do it my way, it'll get done. It'll get done right. It'll get done right the first time. I remember I was a pharmacist at Walgreens when I first got out of pharmacy school here at here in the Valley, and we were at the 35th Avenue Northern store, and there was we call them patients, not customers. There was a patient that asked for my assistance in the cold and allergy aisle, and so I walked out of the pharmacy, went to that aisle, talked about some of their medical challenges, conditions, recommended a product, and as I'm walking back in the pharmacy, the store manager stops me and says, "What are you doing out here?" And I explained, "Well, I'm out here helping a patient, helping a customer. They had a question. She had a question." And he said, "No, no, 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 no. You don't move from behind there." He says, and then he did this with his hands, because when you move from behind there, this whole motion, this whole chain of events, it slows down. And so I need you to not come out from back there, stay back there, and don't come out here from now on. And that's when I said to myself, that's really not why I went to pharmacy school. I went to pharmacy school to help folks. So,
Right.
so I knew right then and there I probably wasn't a good employee.
Well, it's sad because I think most of us have experienced that one way or another,
Right.
and in the business world, whether we're in that world or as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, or as a customer, that we've witnessed and seen things, and it's sad because when people want to help people, like you just described, you were literally blocked by management saying, "How dare you help a customer? How dare you give them value?"
Right. Well, they didn't see the value in the pharmacist, and the pharmacist is the number one trusted profession in America, and
Correct.
I think we get that because we're accessible, right? You can go up to a pharmacy. There's a pharmacist. We're free. You don't have to pay to see me, and we have an unbiased
Mhm.
opinion. If you ask for our advice, we don't get paid versus one drug company versus another. If I recommend one cold product over another. So
Right.
I've always respected and appreciated that trust, and carried that over into do with what we're doing here, working with investors, looking at properties and returning capital, deploying and returning capital.
And now I was just going to say that, Stuart, that you have carried that over in your business today, in the trust and putting the value into your investors, into helping people. And I love that, because that is just such a servant's heart. But even above that, because you've experienced the other side, you never ever want to put somebody in that position.
Oh no, when people invest with us, this is their hard-earned capital. And I tell all my consulting and coaching clients who come on board to learn how to do this, you have to show your investors a plan, a business plan
Right.
of how you're going to buy the property. And of all the plans, when I was teaching for ASRIA, I have 12 online classes for the National RIA. I've probably looked at hundreds, if not thousands, of other people's business plans. And not one of them had an ending where it said, my partner's going to drain the bank account, steal from me, and I'm going to have to go bankrupt. Not one of them ever said, I'm going to end up in divorce and lose everything and have everything go down the tubes. Every
Mm-hmm.
business plan has a happy ending. And so ultimately, the investor invests in you. Even though the plan looks great on paper, we all know nothing ever works according to plan unless you had a
Right.
plan. So, yeah, I take people who invest with us very seriously.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love that, because it stands to the integrity that of who you are, Stuart, and how you treat people. And I myself and everybody who knows you appreciates that, because the one thing, in my opinion, that money can't buy is integrity. Not only when you're in front of a person, but you know what? When you're in your own time, that stands for itself.
Okay, so thank you for the kind words, and I'm also going to turn the tables and say the same thing about you. You're a high person of moral and integrity, and I got to meet you through Robert and Sean Jones for
Yes.
Network Together, and I've found that everybody in that community, just like the community that we've created, they're all honorable, they're well-intentioned, they're entrepreneurial, they're solopreneurial, and they're people that we want to associate with.
Yes, thank you so much. So speaking of Robert, I'm really excited because, and I don't want to take away your thunder, okay?
You're fine.
But no, 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 it's yours to say. But I really would like you to expand a little bit on what's coming up that you and Robert have going together, because this is super exciting.
I am. I'm excited. And it's something that we've been talking about for doing a long time. I think because of the pandemic, it kind of accelerated us doing it live on webinars. But we're
Right,
going to, in July, we're going to start doing a lunch and learn on Tuesdays in July, covering the topics of real estate investing, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial, whether it's property management, whether it's finding funds, financing, using other people's money. We're going to spend an hour each Tuesday doing a lunch and learn, and it'll be interactive, just like you and I are interactive right now.
right.
Interactive, where people can ask questions, they can chime in, and they'll be able to at least get the foundation, get some knowledge. And I've always embraced the Tony Robbins theory of marketing. I like to market my services by education, and
Right.
you just kind of give it away. And there are a segment of population of people that'll take that education, do something with it. There's a segment that'll take that education, do nothing with it. And then there's a segment that'll come on board with us as clients and investors, want to learn more, and they'll want to do more.
Absolutely. And this is a free event for everyone, is it not?
That's correct. It'll be free, and it'll be on Tuesdays starting in July. And
Eh,
I know Robert's going to be sending out information on that as well. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
no, no, that's okay. Do you have an exact date yet?
It's the first Tuesday in July. So I will
Oh,
look at my calendar.
so
And
it'll be right after. So it'll be this, what, 7th?
take a look. Yep, July 7th, it kicks off. That's correct. Thank you.
That is awesome. So right after 4th of July, there's going to be some exciting real estate information given for free by you and Robert. This is incredible because, you know, the value, Stuart, that you give, I mean, and you've been on all facets of real estate, is going to really help people who, especially those who, gosh, they got a little bit of money to invest, but they're kind of unsure.
The if you take a look at the really, really wealthy people, the Forbes top 100, top 400 each year as it comes out, most of those millionaire, now billionaires, made their money in real estate. I have no need
Mhm.
or desire to be a billionaire. Certainly, if it happened, I wouldn't complain. But the point being is that they created other streams of income besides
Mhm.
what they do every day. Even if they're an entrepreneur or an employee, they set up multiple streams of passive income. They're no longer trading time for
Bingo.
money. And so being able to teach people and show people how to do that, just one simple rental property can bring into one household 18 to $20,000 a month, right? So we want to make sure that we educate people on how they can do that. And I get a kick out of helping.
I love that. And what's one quick thing you would say for a beginner?
Thank you. And that's simple. There are two great times to invest in real estate. Two great times. The first time was 20 years ago. The second time is now. And what we're seeing with the moratorium on foreclosures, the governor put a moratorium on foreclosures in Arizona for owner occupied. If they were non-owner occupied, foreclosures continue to go through. But for owner occupied, and we're going to have a segment of population as the economy starts to get going again. The Economist article in the Economist says we're going to have a 90% economy. There's going to be about 10% of that population that's just not going to be able to get back to where they were before the pandemic. Whether they were in the restaurant business, the tourism business, airlines,
Right.
hotels, that those people are going to have some challenges. And it's people like us, investors, that can come in and help those people out of a bind because
Mhm.
they're going to need it when the moratorium is over. And that's across the country. There's going to be people that are going to be faced with challenges that we're going to be able to help.
Absolutely. And that is the beautiful thing about what you do is you're there to help. And I love that. So we have about 4 minutes left. One of the things I like to ask my guests, Stuart, is as an entrepreneur, we don't always wake up in the morning super happy, full of, you know, smiles and daisies. And sometimes we just wake up and have a bad morning. So, what does Stuart do to get out of that funk and get back into the servant mode where he helps his investors?
I consider myself optimistic, and I consider myself a person that has a positive attitude. Optimistic and having a positive attitude, they're not the same thing. Being optimistic means that I am very comfortable knowing that somehow, some way, I'm going to be successful. Optimistic people, it doesn't mean that they don't fail, doesn't mean that they don't have bad days, doesn't mean that they don't wake up in the morning feeling wonderful all the time. What it means is that they know they're going to figure it out. They're gonna try again and fail, try again and fail, try again and try again and try again, and eventually they're going to succeed. And then people are going to look at them and say, "Oh, wow, an overnight success." And they're not going to realize all the times that we spent being frustrated, wanting to quit. If you take a look at my license plate, Donna, it says on it, "Won't quit." And
Right?
I can honestly tell you, I put that there for me because there are many times, not just waking up in the morning, but having frustration throughout the day where I said to myself, maybe I should just go back over to Walgreens and count pills and quit this stuff. And it gets frustrating. So
Mm-hmm.
just knowing that success is what's going to lie ahead, and that my attitude and everything that people think to themselves, I don't like what's going on out there. And the reality of it, Donna, is there's no out there. It's all right here. And
Right.
so focusing on my attitude, focusing on being positive and prosperous, and living by the book called The Four Agreements. Try not to take things
Oh, I
personally.
love that.
Thank you. Not take things personal. Be impeccable with my word, and always try to do my best. Those things are words that I live by. So we all have challenges. We all have tough days. We all have relationship issues or something like that in our lives. But
Life happens,
life happens. But being happy is a choice. You take a look
right?
at people who just won the lottery. You take a look at these athletes that make $10, $20 million a year. They're getting divorced. They're going broke. You take a look at a guy who's a paraplegic from the war and being able to move his finger just a little bit. He's happier than a pig in you know what. So
Right.
what makes him happy versus the other person? It's your attitude, it's your outlook. And so that's what I tend to focus on when things get tough.
I love that. As a high energy coach, I tell my clients much the same thing. Find that space, whether get out of your head and go into your heart. So find that space that gives you that happiness and your return on energy. Okay, so we literally have a minute left.
Yes,
One
ma'am.
quick question. I love this one. When you take off your entrepreneurial hat, Stuart, what do you do in a really quick, about a minute? What do you do to recharge?
Oh, I love hanging out with my lovely bride, Stephanie, and I love hanging out with my dogs. I've got, right now, I've got 4 dogs. One's on his last leg. But for me to get out into nature, take the dogs for a hike, hang out with my lovely bride, go to the gym, exercise. I'm one of those believers that mental health and physical health are related. So by me physically being active helps me stay sharp mentally. So that's what I
Right?
do.
And what about your horses?
My lovely daughter Bailey is still has her PBR, has her professional rodeo card, and so she's up to, I think she has 9 horses right now. So yeah, I have two awesome daughters and a son. I love spending time with them. They're no longer at home. They're grown. So we had Father's Day last week. It was lovely to be with my kids. Yeah, I'm kind of like a Dr. Doolittle. I love all animals.
I love it. I love it. Well, that is perfect. That is absolutely perfect. And you know, if if you kind of judge a person by how they love animals, right?
I think so. You
Right?
know,
For me, they're the most innocent thing on the planet, them and children.
Mark Twain once said, "The more I know people, the more I love my dog."
Right? And we are big animal lovers. Well, Stuart, thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here and let me interview you. You have no idea how much I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Donna. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you as well. Thank you.
Okay. Real estate investment. Get a hold of Stuart Gutzner. And if you do not know him, reach out to me. I will make an introduction. Stuart is just a stand up guy. So, my next guest is very excited, is none other than Susan Brenniger. Welcome, Susan.
Hi, Donna. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here on the show with me.
I'm excited to do it.
Oh, I'm super excited. So before we start and kind of go into the basics, I love to take a few minutes and brag about my guests. So it's my time to brag about Susan. So Susan is a mortgage loan officer for Western State Bank, and she has been in this industry via real estate, mortgage loan for over 18 years. So she's seen a lot of changes in the market in that time. And Susan loves day trips, spending time with her friends, and loves to play bingo and win money. I love that. I love it.
So true.
Right? But what are her superpowers? And this to me is so cool. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was one of Susan's superpowers is she gets invested 100% into her clients' hopes and dreams. So Susan, let's talk. So are you originally from Arizona?
I'm originally from Massachusetts, a city where Dr. Seuss was born, where the home of the Basketball Hall of Fame is, and that's Springfield, Massachusetts. I went to college in San Diego, California, and prior to moving to Arizona, I lived a little over 20 years in Alaska. And I've been in Arizona about 2.5 years now. I'm loving the warmth.
I was going to say, is your blood thinned out yet?
Oh yeah, it thinned out pretty quickly, and
right?
I complain if it's in the house, it's blowing 70 degrees. It's too cold. Give me a sweater.
Right? Yeah, I'm not a fan of the real cold weather. It just doesn't work for me. So now you were in real estate then when you lived in Alaska, correct?
I actually started my real estate career in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
And I was there about a year, and I had moved to Alaska. I did real estate for probably about 10 years. And then someone in the industry said, "Would you like to come over and work for me in mortgage?" And at the prior to prior to deciding to go into mortgage, I was a single parent, so real estate really fit me in my, you know, I can make my own schedule. And mortgage, you can do that quite frequently as well. But my kids are all grown in college and professional lives, so I had had the opportunity to change over to mortgage, and I said, you know, it's time for a challenge. Why not? What the heck? Let's try it out. So I got my license, and here I am today.
I love that. Now, did you get your license in Alaska or did you get it here?
For mortgage? In Alaska. I was
Okay, so
yeah, because I've only been down here 2.5 years.
okay, so then when you got here, you have to get a license in Arizona. Am I correct?
So I did take the test and get licensed. I worked for a credit union here first that didn't need the state license, and now I work for a bank which does not require it either. So I studied and took the test anyway, just so to be prepared.
Right. Yeah, because what you're saying then is where you're at, you're under their umbrella.
Correct. So Western State Bank, we service 48 states, all states except Texas and New Jersey.
Got you. Okay. So, but if you were to go out on your own, it's already in place and there it is.
Correct.
I love that. I love that. So tell us a little bit. I love the fact that you invest in your clients because, you know, that is it's one of the biggest purchases as individuals will ever make in our life.
You know, you know, a lot of people say, you know, they provide great customer service. And I'd have to say it is so important to me to get to know the clients, especially if they're young people who have never owned a home or even, you know, anybody who's never owned a home. So I can educate them, get to know them, feel their excitement. You know, I remember that first house I bought, and I was so excited. I remember my husband and I, you know, we were jumping up and down a month later. I can't believe it's ours, you know.
Right.
And then he spilled some wine on the carpet. I wasn't happy. But you know, I get invested in that excitement for them, you know, and the education part of people who don't think they can own a home, and we can sit down and make a plan for them. And seeing that home ownership become a reality, it's such a fabulous feeling. I can't even tell you how it is, because I just want to help them and see them succeed.
Well, you brought up something I wanted to touch on because I've watched you on Facebook, and I love when you talk about people getting into a home and either they're refinancing, but a lot of times people who pay rent, and rent is not cheap, can actually afford a home. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's, you know, it's just takes education and a plan. It can be done.
So elaborate on that, if you would, please, because a lot of people say you've got a 2-bedroom, and if you're in, you know, a nice area and a nice complex, you're going to be easily looking at between $1,200 and $1,500 a month, if not more.
And probably, so my office is in the Chandler area, and that's probably more around here, Chandler, Gilbert. So the possibilities of home ownership, you know, you can be purchasing a home around the area, you know, and those mortgage payments could be cheaper than your rent that you're paying. And in most cases, that's the whole idea. So you want to invest in yourself if possible, for sure.
I love that. And the thing is that people are scared, like they've already qualified to rent an apartment or a home or condo, whatever it is, wherever they're living, but they've already qualified for that. So but in their mind, they think, oh my gosh, a home, I couldn't possibly qualify for that. But you break that down for them in the way that you just pour into them, and you explain, wait a minute, let's do this. let's make your money work for you.
Absolutely. It's funny that you say that, because when I was married in Alaska, and because we left San Diego a week after we got married. And so I said to my husband, let's try to buy a house. And he spoke to his mother, and she said, you can't do that. You have no business doing that. So I got educated myself, and I said, see, yes, we can. So that helping of people, setting them up with a plan, and explaining the whole process in every question. There's a lot of people that don't answer the phone fast enough. You know what? I'm answering on the weekend. I'm answering in the evenings, because if they have questions and they're stressed out, I want to make this smooth as possible. Just the process doesn't have to be so stressful if you have somebody that you can go to. And so, and I guess it helps because I was a realtor as well, in my past life. So, right. I kind of know both sides of it, and, and I have great communications with the realtors as well.
And I love this because, and of course I know you, Susan, right, through Network Together, but what you do is you take the fear out of the purchase, right? The $250,000, $300,000 purchase, whatever it is that they can afford. Correct. And you explain, you're paying this much in rent, you get nothing to write off. So this is what we can do. You can get equity in your money. And okay, maybe even if they have a few issues with their credit report, you tell them and guide them on how or where to go to tweak that.
That's correct. We make that plan for them. If there's a credit issue, we make the plan on how to fix that issue. And so we can get them to be a homeowner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's the thing is, like, I didn't buy my first home till after I was married. Mm-hmm. And I got married a little bit later in life for my generation. But, I really wish I had bought one earlier. I wish I'd bought a condo or something that, I could have got, right? Yeah. And so now is a really great time because our interest rates are so low.
Oh, our rates right now are fabulous. There's, refinances even are really hot. Mm-hmm. The market in Arizona, there's not a whole lot of homes for sale. So anybody who's thinking of selling their house, now is a fabulous time. I know the Chandler Gilbert area, I spoke to a realtor this morning. They only have a 1.8 months of inventory, which is very low. And the hot market is 300 and under. So in Gilbert alone, 300 and under, they only have 3 active listings. And right. He said this morning in Chandler, there's only 30. So those are going up, and they're getting offers quickly in multiple situations. So the dream of home ownership is there. You might not have to live in Chandler. You may be looking in Mesa or Tempe or Phoenix, wherever you need to go that you can afford and get yourself established.
Right. And I know in Tempe, we're a little landlocked, right? There's no more room to develop. And right. Because it is the ASU town, that there are homes for sale, but it's as a rule, it's even a little bit smaller in Tempe, but there's a lot of rentals. But again, you're paying somebody else's mortgage, right,
Correct.
Susan?
Correct. Right. Why not invest in yourself if you can?
Exactly. I mean, it's what Stuart said. Invest in you.
Yeah. And the rates right now are probably the lowest they're going to be in anybody's lifetime.
And do you see where they might be going up soon?
Donna, if I could foresee the future, I'd be a very rich woman today. Probably one of those
crystal ball
people that Stuart was talking about, right?
Right.
So, eventually it's going to have to go up at some point. They're pretty low right now, but we're in a crazy situation. So we'll just have to see how it all plays out.
Right. And there's, of course, now you're with Western State Bank. Do you just do you primarily work in Mesa, Chandler, or do you work all over Arizona as well, you personally?
So we have 6 branches, and I tend to do my physical office is in Chandler. I go to the Mesa branch, and I also go to Sun City West. If somebody wants to see me in Sun City and make an appointment, I'll be glad to go there. As far Casa Grande, Scottsdale, I can meet them anywhere. So I'm very flexible with that, but I spend most of my time Chandler, Mesa, and Sun City West.
Okay. But that's important for people to know that, they want to get in touch with you, that you're accessible.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that you'll meet them.
Yeah, and I'm excited about meeting new people. I need more friends.
Right? I love that. It's interesting to me that, and I've watched your Facebook Lives, and I love how you talk about the mortgage rates, and I can see your passion, right? I can see your passion. So, give, if you would, maybe somebody who's watching us right now, Susan, is on the cusp about, gosh, should we just renew the lease, or should we maybe look at purchasing a home? Give a little quick synopsis, if you will, of, what they can do. I mean, granted, I know that there's some varying factors, but you've got your interest rate and you're paying X amount versus a home. If you could give a couple quick examples.
I'm not sure quite what you're looking for, but let me just tell you about a young lady who I just got off the phone with. She was smart. She bought a condo like we did not do, Donna, when we were younger.
Right.
And now she's looking to purchase a new home and possibly rent out that condo. So, we're going to look at her scenario. I'm going to ask her for all her documents that she needs to send me. So her income, her savings, tax returns, W-2s, she'll provide that for me. And when we pull her credit, we're going to see what she has for liabilities. And then we're going to see if she can afford both properties with the income that she has. And hopefully that's so. I'm eager to get her information and see if we can make that happen for her. So, it's pretty simple to get pre-qualified. It's just having that conversation. This is what I need from you, and let's get it going. And then we can see if make it happen.
I love that. It's so important to that sense of pride and knowing that, you've got a place that you've actually earned and qualified, and you are not giving your money to somebody else's dream. And that's,
and you're explaining to them, that, this is an investment for you. You maybe moving up in the future, selling this home, getting that equity to buy a bigger home. Or maybe it's going to be the reverse, where you have a bigger home and you want to downsize so you have more money to play with, for your future.
Right.
So it's a huge investment for people.
Right. So we have about 4 minutes left in the show, Susan. Okay. And I like to end the show asking my guests questions. So my first question is, Susan, we don't always wake up as business owners, as professionals, as entrepreneurs in a great mood. Okay. Life happens to everybody, right?
That's true.
You tripped over the dog, you sprained your toe, whatever happened. Mm-hmm. What do you do, Susan, when you wake up in that mood to get out of it so that you can go back into work with that smile on your face and ready to invest in your clients?
So let me tell you what I do every day, Donna. I wake up typically before my alarm goes off, but if not, when my alarm goes off, I know I hit that snooze and I take the 10 minutes and I do a gratitude list. What I'm thankful for every day. It gets me in a great space, whether it be friends and family and exciting to meet new customers. I mean, I have a long list of gratitude. So that gets me in the right frame of mind. And if I'm still kind of grumpy, I'm probably in the shower singing. But on my way to work, you will probably see me bouncing to the tunes and singing, probably looking like an idiot in the car. But that's what I do. It gets me moving and it changes my whole perspective, and I am ready to face the day.
I love it. You change your paradigms. You know,
I do.
as a high energy coach, I teach my clients that you have got to change the paradigms because you're stuck up here and you've got to get out of your own head and come into your heart to change where you're going to have your day. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in that dark place every day.
Absolutely. You got to have the positivity or you get stuck, and it's going to reflect on everybody else. So
absolutely.
You don't want to be that person that wrecks the road, you know.
Right. We want more return on energy. We
absolutely
want ROE. And I teach that with my clients. So last question. Okay. What do you do when you take off your entrepreneur hat to really relax and then get centered and come back to work ready to serve your clients?
So I'd have to say during my downtime, you know, you mentioned my little bingo runs. I do that sometimes. Who doesn't like to win some money? But, you know, come Friday, sometimes on Saturday or even Sunday, I'm taking off in the car. You know, I just take a drive somewhere, enjoy some new scenery, meet some new people. You know, I'd have to say I enjoy taking a swim in the pool. My daughter was just here visiting from New Mexico. She goes to college in New Mexico. She just left this morning. You know, we had pool time, and it just feels fabulous to free your mind of all of that. Massage. I haven't had a massage for a few months, but I enjoy those as well. That clears my mind. So and enjoying friends and family.
I love it. I love it. Susan, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day and being here on the show with me and letting me get to interview you and let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Donna. It was a lot of fun. I was a little nervous, I'm not going to lie, but thanks so much for having me.
And thank you. You're awesome.
Thanks, Donna. So are you.
Okay, you heard it, folks. Susan is incredible, and she really invests into her clients. So if you're thinking about if you can qualify for a home, Susan is your go-to gal. And she is, of course, a member of Network Together. You can find her in the directory. And if you still can't do that, reach out to me. I would be happy to make that in-person introduction for you. Okay, my next guest, I'm really excited, is Cory Martens. Welcome, Cory.
Hey, thank you, Donna.
Welcome, welcome. So, before we get started in the interview, I like to take a minute and brag about my guest. So, Cory is a senior loan officer for Academy Mortgage. His mission is to make a positive impact on the lives of everybody he meets. I love that. And that Cory is a full-time single father to a beautiful 9-year-old daughter. And this is, I love your superpower. You are a professional mortgage planner. Very impressive.
Well, you make it sound good.
So let's start with your background a little bit. So I know you're not originally from here. You're actually from Canada, correct?
Born and raised in Canada, and then came via Montana.
Yeah, so we talked about that because
we better be careful. We might not get off that road.
I know. Let's talk about Montana. Bozeman girl hair. I love it. And so we were talking on the phone, just so you guys know, and I'm like, oh, I so miss fishing the Yellowstone.
There's so much fun to do up there. There's anyone that's outdoorsy. I mean, the sky's the limit.
Oh, absolutely. Big sky country.
It is.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So how, let's go back a little bit. Not everybody is born an entrepreneur. Okay. My earliest memory was actually starting out as an entrepreneur. I just didn't know it at the time. I was just raking leaves to get 25 cents and get a box of Cracker Jacks. But that was my earliest memory. But I went into the professional world. I found out that, sometimes for a lot of people, it doesn't work. That's not the best place. And then you have others who have an incredible job. So kind of where did your story into becoming a mortgage loan officer evolve?
Well, let me start off first by just telling you, I absolutely love with like an industry, like it doesn't make sense how much I love what I do. I've got a passion for doing mortgages. And because of it, you would think that, this is something I always wanted to do.
Right.
And I admire those people that from a young age can identify what they want to do. They go out and they do it.
Right.
But that was not my case. I had to be pushed and forced and dragged, and I was screaming all the way. And honestly, it was a series of follies that put me into it. And then I realized how much I really love it. One of my, I could share so many stories along this way, but one of my favorites is, this is probably about maybe 12 years ago now. I was actually going to take my first stab at being an entrepreneur and start up my own business.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into the bank and lined up a business loan. And they asked me, they're like, okay, are you ready to sign for it? I'm like, no, not yet, because I don't want to start paying the interest on that until I absolutely have to. I said, so how long is this good for? And they said, well, usually, I can't remember what it was. I think they said 3 months or whatever my qualification was good for. I said, great. So give me a little bit of time. And I quit my job and I started lining everything up. And I was using some of my personal funds to get the first little bit running before I really had to start investing in it. And that time came. However, if you remember about 12 years ago, maybe a little bit, maybe it was a little bit less than that, is also when the economy really started to dive. Yeah. So I went into the bank and I said, okay, hey, I'm ready for my loan now. And they looked at me and I could tell something was wrong. And they went back and got at this point, I'd had so many conversations with this bank that, they were starting to feel a little bit like family and they knew everything about me. But, they went back and got the branch manager and he came out and said, yeah, about that. They're like, with, all the uncertainty coming, they're like, we've changed things and we can't get you that loan anymore. And, I was a deer in the headlights going, I quit my job. I've burned up a lot of my savings getting ready for this. And I'm like, I've got nothing now. And, I could tell they really felt badly.
Right.
And they're like, I'm sorry, we just can't get you the loan. And I don't know where it came from because, Donna, it wasn't me. But out of my mouth, I just said, well, if you're not going to give me a loan, you better give me a job.
I love it.
And anyway, I thought I was being a little bit funny, just to lighten the mood a bit. I went home and the next morning I got a phone call and the branch manager said, Cory, were you serious about that? And I had to stop and consider whether or not I was serious. And I realized, well, I don't have a job. So yeah, I am serious. And so he says, I know everything about you. I really don't need to interview you, but we need to make it official. So come in and let's grab a lunch. And then I'm going to offer you a job. And
wow.
Next thing you know, I was working for a bank. I actually started off as a personal banker, but then it evolved from there.
That is incredible. I love it. Because you know what, you hear those stories or you see a movie where, yeah, why don't you just give me a job? I love it. And you look at you, there you are.
Yeah, and it really did. It put me on the path to where I am. From there, I got exposure to mortgages, and I'll tell you what, it didn't take me long to realize there's something special about working in this industry.
I love that. So how long have you actually been a total in the banking industry and then total in the mortgage section of it?
So, it's hard because in banking, I don't know, probably 11 years, I'm guessing now. But it's hard when people ask me how long have I been in mortgage, it was kind of a slow transition over. I kind of got one foot in one door and one in the other.
Right.
Transitioned over. But it was probably about, I would guess now, probably 6 years ago, maybe 7, that I went all the way into mortgages. But I was working for a large bank in a call center. And then I think it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago that I finally said, you know what, there's a better way of doing this. And I jumped out and decided, let's see if I can make it on my own. I mean, I work under the flag of some awesome mortgage companies, but really it's my own business.
I love this. So, okay, let's talk about this. Your superpower. Okay. If we can't talk about fishing the Yellowstone and getting some big rainbow trout, we're going to talk about this, buddy. Okay. Professional mortgage planner. I love that as your superpower. Tell me about that. Tell me what makes you the professional mortgage planner.
You know, I like to think of it that way because, and this is going to seem odd, but I don't like debt.
Right.
I think anyone that gets in debt is a bad thing, which is really weird because I help people create probably the largest debt of their lives.
You're right.
And somehow I've got to reconcile that.
Little oxymoron you got going there.
It really seems that way, doesn't it? But I actually think that's what makes me so good at what I do. Okay, because I also believe in home ownership. And I mean, you've already talked about that a lot today. And by the way, I should have started off by saying what great information you got out of both Stuart and Susan. I mean, that was some awesome information they gave. But home ownership is such an important thing. And let's face it, for the vast majority of people, that's going to mean that you're going to have to finance it.
Right.
And so for me, I think there's a lot more than just getting people the financing, because I don't like debt, and we want to make sure that they've got a path to get out of the debt, and that they've got that they're doing it responsibly. It's about, just like Susan, it's about getting to know your clients. You want to know what their goals, their aspirations are, whether it's short-term, long-term. Because not all mortgages are created equal. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize in this world. I mean, too often you go in and you visit with a mortgage lender, and they're like, hey, here's a list of things I need from you. Let's fill out an application, and here's a mortgage we're going to get for you. But the truth is, there are so many different investors. There's so many different programs. There are so many different ways you can structure each of those. And what we want to do is make sure it's not the easiest one for us to do, but what's the right one for you. And the only way to do that is to know what someone's goals are, short-term, long-term, what are their tax goals? And then we start to piece it all together for them.
I love that, because yes, there are different types of loans. Even if you have, and I know that you got your fixed 30-year loan, if you can pay, even if you work a regular job and that 2 times a year you get that extra paycheck, and you put that check into your mortgage, that will drop your mortgage exponentially in years.
No, absolutely. And it is teaching a lot of people those tricks and showing them how money works, how interest works. But yeah, even with payments, there's so many different options that people can take that sometimes they're not familiar with. And if you take the time and say, hey, let me show you, mortgage insurance is one of my favorite examples. Mm-hmm. Let me show you different ways you can pay that mortgage insurance that might better fit what your goals are.
Right.
Every time people are like, I didn't know you could do that. So there's some pretty neat tools out there, and we really got to make sure that we fit people with the right ones.
And I find that just absolutely fascinating that you take the time, and it shows what a servant's heart you have, that you take the time, Cory, to get to know your customers so that you can best direct their life in the most positive manner with the largest purchase of their lifetime.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
It absolutely is. And, it's nothing that I take lightly either, but I'll tell you what, it's, sometimes I carry a lot of that stress with me, because it is. I mean, you look at the expectations of what they're doing, and you don't want to mess that up. But Donna, at the same time, can I tell you, I've got a love-hate relationship with Facebook. Okay, I don't like Facebook for all the reasons no one else likes it. But I love it when a client friends me, and then when they're in their new home, I'll see a picture and they'll be like, hey, look, we got our house so we can finally get the puppy we've always wanted. Or you see a picture of the kids playing in the pool in the backyard, and all of a sudden you sit there and you go, boom, that's why I do what I do. That's why it's all worth it.
That's the truth. And I can see how empowered and excited you are about what you do, and that you don't just want to be a loan officer saying, okay, here's the loan, this is what's going to work, sign here, but you really dive in to find out their long-term goals to help them make their home owning process more valuable and fitting for their lifestyle. Is that the best way to describe it?
Yes, I think you did a great. Can I hire you? Maybe you could just do this.
Okay.
There we go.
Right? Some choke cherry jam too.
One of these days, we're gonna sit down and we'll have a choke cherry and huckleberry desserts.
Absolutely, love that. Okay, so we have a few minutes left, and I want to talk about a couple of things. So we don't always wake up in a great mood. And I was a single mom of 3 teenagers, and yeah, that was a rough ride.
Sure.
I love him dearly. Wouldn't trade a minute of my life with him. I dearly adored it. But I know, Cory, that being a single parent can have its challenges, right? It's everything's on you, right? It all starts, begins, the middle, and the end is on you. So what do you do when you wake up and you're not in a really great mood? What do you do to flip that around?
I'm actually going to hit rewind just a little bit, Donna, because for me, I really believe it starts the night before. If I want to wake up in a good mood, I need to start the night before, and I need to, it's cleaning my plate. All of those things sitting heavy on my mind, I've got to get them done, or at least get a plan on it, and then make the list of what I'm going to do the next day. And I've always got to identify a few things that I'm looking forward to. Because if there's some things on that list that I'm looking forward to, as soon as my, I don't even use an alarm clock anymore, but as soon as I wake up, your body starts to say it's time to get up.
Right.
All of a sudden my mind goes straight to those things. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a good day. And I'll tell you what, since I started doing that, I don't very often wake up in a bad mood. I wake up in good moods and excited to do what I'm going to do.
I love that, because as a high energy coach, Cory, I teach my clients different modalities, if you will, what works best with them. But I love the metaphor you use, cleaning the plate, right? You clean the plate the night before to what I refer to for my clients, get more ROE, return on energy. I love that. Okay. And so last question.
Yes.
What do you do really quick when you take off your entrepreneurial hat to recharge?
Do you know what? It's all about my little 9-year-old girl.
I love it.
Life, it's all about everything outside of work. It's just her and I. And, I used to be a doer. I used to love all the adventure type activities. And I had a whole list of things I like to do. And, I would have considered myself a doer. Now I consider myself a watch her doer. And I get so much excitement and pleasure and satisfaction out of watching her do things. And when I can, do them with her too.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, it's the energy of a 9-year-old. It's not that you up with.
I know. Don't we wish we could bottle that?
Oh, I know. But yeah, no, she just makes my day every day.
I love that. That is so beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Cory, for taking time to be on the show today. I absolutely adored it.
It was wonderful. And again, congratulations on the first 2 interviews you had. So much good information in there.
Oh, thank you. Well, your information is just as valuable. That's why
Thank you.
each of you have a superpower.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cory. Okay, Cory Martens, professional mortgage planner. Again, he is in Network Together in the membership directory, as is Stuart Genther, who is an investment guru, and Susan Brenninger. She is a mortgage broker with Western State Bank. You can find them all in the member directory of networktogether.net. And if you can't and you want a personal introduction, please reach out to me and I will be happy to interview you. We are at the end of our show. I just want to thank you so much for being here. And my contact information is right there at the bottom of the screen. If you need help with your ROE, reach out to me at highenergyrightnow@gmail.com. Thank you so much for being here with me today on the High Energy Entrepreneur Radio Show. Have an incredible weekend and stay safe, everybody.